Hey guys, my name is Steve and welcome to AEAC Vlog. If you're new around here, that's cool, me too. This is actually a sister channel to my primary YouTube channel, the Airgun Exploration and Advancement channel, otherwise known as AEAC Home. Over there you will get full in-depth product reviews as well as around the world event coverage. But this here channel is my time to be able to get in front of you a little bit more, slow things down a little bit, and bring you in on some learning, discovery, and approach as I get these new products in for review and work my way towards a full review of them over on AEAC Home. But wow, where to begin here with the TX200 and Air Arms? This, I believe, at least here in the States, is an organization that's been around a lot longer than most people realize. Now you can go over to their website and you can read that they got their start in the 80s and so on and so forth, but really the company goes back further than that. Really it goes into the 1960s and 1970s. Back then it wasn't called Air Arms, it was called NSP Engineering, and NSP Engineering actually manufactured Springer parts for Sussex Armory in England, and that's how they got their start. Now, one thing led to another, and Sussex Armory went away, and NSP Engineering had all this money invested in all of those parts and all of the machinery and personnel to make those parts, and they just didn't want to say goodbye, and that's kind of when they put Air Arms together and started making their own spring guns. Now, the one you see here, the TX200, this is not a new spring gun, but I'm reviewing it because it's one of those springers that I constantly get bombarded with requests to review for you guys. And I find that interesting because this is a 28-year-old spring gun. Okay, now it's in its third model, and this is called the TX200 MK3. So naturally it's gone through some revisions over the years to make it better and better. But what I find even more interesting about a 28-year-old platform is that when you look at the decades gone by, this is a gun that has dozens of tournaments and championships under its belt. And what's even more profound in my mind is when you look at the last 3 years, it has 2 World Field Target Championships under its belt. It won in 2016 and it won in 2018. You know, and here it is in all of its glory, with all of that heritage. So I just want to kind of take you through the gun a little bit, give you an overview so that you can have some kind of context before we go into the review that I'll probably release later in the week around Sunday, all right? So first thing you notice about this is a spring gun, right? Here in the States, when we say spring gun, 9 out of 10 people won't know what the hell you're talking about. But if you say break barrel air gun, they'll say, oh, like the ones you buy at Walmart and Kmart, and yeah, so they get what that is. This is basically that, but it has a fixed barrel, okay? Takes advantage of the piston inside that compresses the spring. You pull the trigger, the piston flies forward, you know, pushes all the air through a little cylinder out a little hole behind the pellet and sends the projectile downrange. This works the same, okay, guys? But this is a fixed barrel, under lever cocking, side breech spring gun, with the philosophy being that if you get rid of the joint, the mechanism, the breaking down of the gun, then there will be more accuracy inherent to it. Is that true? I have no idea. I've reviewed some Virocs and some Dianas and some RWSs and Crossmans and Benjamins in the past that perform very well, but that philosophy makes sense to me, and it's kind of hard to argue with, you know, with the victories that this gun has under its belt, you know, created over the decades. So I found that to be quite interesting. Now, the other very interesting thing about this gun that kind of struck me is when I first picked it up, it is not light. Okay, this is a 10-pound gun, just as you see it here, with a scope and with rings, and a lot of the spring guns that I get my hands on are 6-7 pounds-ish. And in my conversation with Air Arms, I said, well, you know, why do you do that? And they say, well, you know, first of all, Steve, this is a tuned gun out of the factory, which means we tune them, we spend the money and the time on the parts and the labor to put the gun together in a configuration where it's performing at a super high level right out of the box. And A tuned gun, for those of you at home that may not know, in Springer land, that basically means you've taken it apart. Maybe you've upgraded the spring, maybe you've upgraded the piston, the seals, you know, some of the caps and covers that are in there. You've upgraded the lubrication so that when you shoot it, it doesn't go, and let me do my best here, boing! It doesn't do that. And it doesn't go twang in your hands, which, you know, it's not that exciting for an air gunner, okay? This does not do that. I found it very interesting. You know, our industry has taken us kind of down the path of to get a smooth, clean shooting spring gun, it needs to be a gas ram gun or a gas piston gun. Those are the struts that hold open the trunk or the bonnet of your car, and they've replaced a mechanical spring in a lot of guns. But not this one. You know, the other thing I find interesting in talking to Air Arms is this is a big company, guys. They export to 40 countries around the world. They have 35 employees. They have machinery that literally runs around the clock, 24 hours. But they have 8, count them on 2 hands, 8 assemblers that actually build every single gun. So while this is a mass-produced gun, at the same time, it is very much a stall-built gun, and that probably has something to do with its price tag. Now, this is a $630 to $750 spring gun based on how you configure it. They come in walnut, they come in beech. You can buy them here in the States in left-hand or right-hand, you know, configuration. So it's not a cheapie, but you're spending that money kind of up front, you know, to get the quality. Now, back to the heavy thing, right? Now, I've shot light spring guns. I've shot heavy spring guns now. And while the concept of the light one gets me more excited for carrying it around in the field, this was not originally built or intended to win field target championships around the world. It was built as a hunter. And I get the extra heft is kind of nice for the FT guy, you know, and their little poses and stuff. It actually holds quite steady. And the weight is good because the wind's not going to be moving you around. But the weight also contributes to a smoother shot cycle and one that vibrates less. And my guess is that's why they've built this the way they have with this big piece of lumber, which is actually a Manelli stock, by the way, guys, made in Italy. And can I just pause there for a second? Oh my God, is this thing gorgeous? And so is the bluing. It's just insane, okay? But back to the fixed barrel. I'm just going to show you how this works one time, and then you're going to have to wait for the review to see me shoot it. But when I break this down, I want you to listen. You're going to hear probably nothing initially because it's a very smooth cocking stroke, but then you're going to hear a really cool ratcheting noise, which is the anti-bear trap mechanism grabbing this sliding door and holding it open so that you don't lose any of your digits. Okay, and very simply, you load your pellet. You load your pellet right in that little hole right there. Now, then in order to put this back, you have to depress the little button here, and then you turn off the safety, and the gun is ready to fire. Now, it can be decocked, okay? You turn off the safety, give the trigger a little squeeze while putting good pressure down here. You hear the little click, and then release the anti-bear trap and slowly release the whole thing back to its original position. So that's the long and short of how the gun works. Now, this one's a 177. They come in 177. They come in 22. I told you about the different configurations in the stock. And this one's making 15 to 16 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle. It's getting there by pushing an 8.5 grain to about 917. It's pushing a 15 grain to about 678. And the 10.5 grain JSBs and H&Ns are kind of landing right in the middle. All of those rounds are landing 25 yards downrange at about 12 or so foot-pounds. So, you know, it's making good power. But holy moly, when you shoot this thing, I had to double check myself, guys. I thought that there was a gas ram in this gun because it doesn't go buzz or twang, or there's no harsh vibrations. It just goes thick, and it just sounds and feels like a gas ram gun. So there's a high level of refinement going on in this rifle. Now, the trigger. So I've just come off of a couple of Vyrock reviews, and you guys know I'm a huge advocate of the record trigger. I think I like this one better, okay? And let me tell you why. As amazing as the record trigger is, and as wonderful it is as it is to adjust, okay, this one, just right as it comes out of the box, I haven't put the gauge on it yet, but I'm willing to bet that it's about a pound. It's a dual stage trigger. It's very adjustable if you want to fine tune all of that. But oh my goodness, is it clean and is it light? It feels like it's set up to win championships more than be like a hunter. But again, the gun's designed for hunting. But something I really like about the trigger that I wasn't sure if I liked, it kind of grew on me, is it has kind of a really long first stage pull. But like I said, it's light, it's clean, that's no problems with that. And then there's no creep. It's like snapping a pane of glass when it goes off with just a little bit more pressure. But I think I like that long first stage pull because I was playing around with it the other day, and it actually brought that trigger very close into my, I don't even know if this makes any sense to you, but for those of you who shoot a lot of guns and shoot a lot of guns like this, you'll get what I'm saying. It brings that trigger blade in close to the body, and when you have small hands, that is everything in a Springer to get the repeatability, because if the blade's like all the way out here and, you know, and my fingertip isn't on it just right, you know, I could be putting pressure on one end of the trigger blade and the other, and then my shots are going all over the place. So I think I kind of dig that, but I just, you know, I wanted to touch on that trigger for a sec. Now, barrel, before I depart, okay? Air Arms puts Lothar Walther barrels in all of their spring guns. I think they just make a Pro Sport and a TX200, if I'm not mistaken, and they both use Lothar Walther. This looks kind of like a bull barrel because it is actually shrouded, and there are baffles in here. So this is a moderated, silenced spring gun out of the factory. Does it make a difference? I don't know, because we all know in spring guns that all the noise comes out of the power plant, you know, with that spring coming forward. But is it cool? Definitely, absolutely. And you know, it's not loud, and it's just, you know, I'm just really taken back by it. I don't know if I'm coming through on camera. It's just been a really interesting 3, 4, 5 days playing with this gun. Now, that Lothar Walther barrel likes what most Lothar Walther barrel likes. It likes the H&M Barracuda variants. It likes the JSB variants. But interestingly, it's very non-pellet fussy. It's very accurate. At 25 yards, it is easy for me. I mean, no struggling at all to get groups the size of like your pinky nail consistently across a wide variety of pellets. But what's interesting is that Lothar Walther barrel, at least in this gun, also likes the Sniper, Magnum, and Medium from H&N. It did not like the lights. But speaking of light pellets, if you put a pellet in here that weighs less than 7 grains, it will go supersonic, it will break the sound barrier, and it will sound like you're shooting a .22 rimfire in your backyard. So don't do that. You know, it's probably not good for the gun as well. But that kind of gives you an idea of, you know, power, velocity, and the gun overall. And I think that I want to stop right there, and we'll save the rest for the review. But, you know, there have definitely been some learning moment takeaways in here for me. And that's that, one, you don't need to buy a gas ram gun to get a gas ram feeling spring gun. You don't need to buy a spring gun and then a Springer tune-up kit and then invest the time into doing that, you know, when you can just buy something like this instead. And right out of the crate, it is gorgeous and it performs at a high level. And as much as I appreciate and like some of those other guns, I am just really taken back by the experience I've had shooting this gun, and I just wanted to relay it to you. So with that, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you again in the full review over on my other YouTube channel, AEAC Home, towards the end of the week, probably late Sunday.